So, a couple of housekeeping issues before we get started here. First of all, clean your house. Second, if you have not gotten to the slides already, please visit edisonresearch.com/smartaudio to be able to view these slides. You will be hearing audio both from me over your phone or whatever you use to call the number, and you'll also be hearing audio from the device that you're using to watch this presentation. So it's important that you have that turned up. If you have any questions, please submit them to Twitter with the Smart Audio hashtag, or you can email us at smartaudio@edisonresearch.com, and you can also use that email address if you're having any technical issues. So we were thrilled to be asked by NPR to join them on this exploration of the smart speaker and the smart audio category. Now, why would we do research on a device? There's lots of smart devices in people's homes, but we're not doing a smart thermostat study or a smart sous vide study. We had a theory, and that theory was that these devices would actually change behavior. And they have indeed done just that, and we're going to explore that over the next few minutes. Interesting thing about this category, though it is a new category, it's both strange and familiar at the same time. It's strange in that a lot of us are now talking to our computers, and our computers are talking back in a way that not even Siri prompted. There's something about having those speakers always on and always listening that makes them become much more part of our conversational flow. But they're familiar too, and they're familiar because for decades, science fiction and literature have been telling us that this is how we would talk to computers someday. If you think about even as far back as the 1960s, you had 2001: A Space Odyssey, where HAL was a computer that you talked to, and it talked back. If Dave could have only clicked podbaydoor.exe, a whole lot of trouble would have been saved. In the 1970s, in the movie Alien, you had Mother, the computer that ran the ship. People talked to Mother. Mother did not talk back, but Mother did respond by leaving them out in the cold dead of space to die. But of course, there's no better example of talking to computers than the 1986 classic Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. This was peak Shatner, curly hair Shatner. This is a wacky movie. There's time travel in it. There's transporting a blue whale. There's Spock riding a bus. And there's this marvelous scene that I want to show you. And I'm going to show it to you not just because it's funny, but because it is exactly what I'm talking about, the strange and the familiar at the same time.
Perhaps the professor could use your computer. Please.
Computer? Computer? Hello, computer.
Just use the keyboard.
The keyboard. How quaint.
Now that's high comedy for 1986, but I would submit that if you're listening to this webinar now, and I know you are, if you have small children in the house, it would not surprise me if one of your children had that same exact interaction with a computer, because they're growing up learning to talk to computers and have them talk back to us. And if you don't believe me, think back even just 5 or 6 years ago. If you had a small child in your house, you may have seen them walk up to your TV set and try to pinch and swipe and zoom the TV. It changes behavior. And so this scene, this strange scene from the 1980s, is now going to be part of our everyday life. So we wanted to get to the bottom of this, and to do that, we used a two-part process. First, we did a significant national quantitative survey of 800 smart speaker owners and 820 non-smart speaker owners, ages 18 and up. And we weighted that data to the smart speaker owner estimates that we have from our infinite dial research, which I'll show you in just a moment. So that gave us a really broad quantitative look at all of the things people are doing with their smart speakers. But we also wanted to get some context. Why are these behaviors happening? Are they important? Are they truly impacting people's lives? And so we also conducted 15 in-home interviews. We conducted some ethnographic research by actually embedding Edison researchers into the homes of 15 smart speaker owners all across the country. And we've got some amazing video to show you coming up about how people are using those speakers. I mentioned our infinite dial research. This is from earlier this year. We conduct the infinite dial every year with our partners at Triton Digital. And we determined in that study that 7% of Americans 12 plus have a smart speaker in their home. You can see here Alexa and Google Home. And that's approximately, as Brian said, 20 million Americans. Now, as a result of all that, we have kept that same ratio in this survey. So in our survey, in our quantitative sample, 76% of the sample has an Alexa device, 16% have a Google Home, and 8% have both. Some people have both for various reasons. I'm waiting for the rap battle app to happen before I get my Google Home. Now, Alexa does have a head start, and let's just agree to call it Alexa instead of Echo, Dot, and Tap. And a primary reason for that is because Amazon has a significant head start. If you look here on this graph, 82% of smart speaker owners, and in fact, 85% of Amazon Alexa owners, subscribe to Amazon Prime. Now that is not the really eye-popping stat on this slide to me. The eye-popping stat is that 44% of non-smart speaker owners, the other 93% of the country, also subscribe to Amazon Prime. Truly, Amazon is eating the world. Now we asked people who own a smart speaker how many they have. I found this graph to be fascinating and significant. 58% have one, but that means 42% have more than one. In fact, 18% have three or more. Again, this is a new category of product. It's barely been out for 2 years, and for most people, a year is all they've known about it. And yet 42% of people who own a smart speaker thought enough of them to buy another one, and even more. So this is indeed a category that's having a significant impact. Of the people who do own a smart speaker, 45% plan to purchase another smart speaker. Again, it's a real testament to how quickly, even though this is a strange behavior, how quickly it has become part of everyday American life. It's so much a part of everyday American life, in fact, that these speakers are where we live. We asked people where their primary smart speaker was located. Their single one if they only owned one, or the primary one that they use if they have more than one. And you'll see some interesting things on this graph. First of all, by far, the living room, the family room, the living room, the den, the living space is the primary location where people are putting them. And now for years, the computer industry has been trying to get a computer in the living room. That started with web TV and even Apple TV today. None of them have been entirely successful. But this is, in fact, a computer in the living room. And so this is the way that it's going to happen. Another 24% have theirs in the kitchen. What you don't see on here are things like home office. Truly, these speakers are part of how we live our lives and not how we do our work, at least not yet. Now, we asked people, compared to the first month of ownership, are you now using your smart speaker more, less, or about the same? 47% say they're using their speaker more than in the first month that they got it. Now, it's easy to just kind of gloss over this graph, but you're not guaranteed to see this number for very many devices. If we were to do the infinite fidget spinner study next year, for instance, I don't think you would see 47% using their fidget spinners more. So this is, in fact, a pretty significant graph. Now, why are people buying these smart speakers? We asked people a number of reasons why they wanted to own a smart speaker. And of course, audio is going to be at the top. In fact, the number one answer, 90% of smart speaker owners say they bought their smart speaker so that they could listen to music. But the voice-activated aspect of it is certainly a major part of ownership. If you look to ask questions without needing to type at 87, to make it easier to do things, it seemed like a fun new gadget at 86. And yes, currently that 7%, it's fair to describe them as early adopters. But making it easier to do things is a universal desire, and we're going to see some real examples of that as we move forward into this research. But I want to show you page 2. Some really interesting things here on page 2, even at the bottom where you might think those are small numbers. Those are not small numbers. 36% said that they wanted their smart speaker to entertain children. In fact, when we look at that number by parents of children in the home, as we will soon, you'll see that's a much bigger number. But even the bottom two, to help somebody with a disability or to help an elderly person, those are still double-digit behaviors. And they're a clue, a hint, as to some of the ways that these devices are fitting into people's lives that maybe we didn't expect, that maybe they are more than just a speaker, that they might actually be something of a companion. And when you put it in that context, it's not surprising that you see a stat like this, which is significant. 42% of smart speaker owners say that their smart speakers are essential to their everyday lives. Again, easy to gloss over a graph like this, but you really can't say that about too many of the devices in your home. I think it's fair to say it about your smart speaker. It's fair to say it about your smartphone. It's fair to say it about your wireless internet in the home and maybe a few other devices. But still, it's a strong statement, and 42% of smart speaker owners believe that. Why is it essential to their everyday lives? Well, we learned a lot of things in this project by actually watching people use them. And one of the things that we learned is it's not necessarily any one thing. It can be a whole lot of little things. And it may not be something that the speaker itself does, but something that the speaker allows you to do. Now, we are very fortunate to be invited into the homes of some wonderful families that use these smart speakers, including Lizzie, who we're about to introduce you to. And what I'd like you to pay attention to here again is not what the speaker does, but what it allows Lizzie to do.
This is my husband, Chris. This is my baby.
Oh, and she's been up.
Settling into being a new mom has been quite the roller coaster. Having Alexa and the ability to do a lot more things hands-free is really helpful. Alexa, give me my flash briefing. Just this morning I had to ask Alexa what time it was because I wasn't wearing a watch and I couldn't get to my phone. Otherwise, you're waiting until the baby goes down for a nap to spend some time figuring out what's going on in the world.
Come on, baby, make it easy on me. Wanna get down to the heart of it all.
My favorite thing to do right now is have her calm my child. I'll yell out, Alexa, play Can't Take My Eyes Off of You by Frankie Valli, and she does, and it's wonderful. And we dance around the kitchen and the baby gets calm every time. Alexa, play song Can't Take My Eyes Off You by Frankie Valli.
Can't Take My Eyes Off You by Frankie Valli.
There you go. I have no idea how we discovered that it is this song, but it is this song only. Play that a couple times, then you can kind of play something else, but it has to be Frankie Valli right away. What's your favorite part? I think the way that I feel about a lot of the technology that we have, but also Alexa, is I don't know that you need it to live your life, but it certainly is making my life a lot simpler.
So, smart speakers enable her to do things that would normally be a chore and enables her to focus on her 5-week-old baby. And in other news, Frankie Valli still got it. Now, as a result of this, 65% of smart speaker owners say they wouldn't want to go back to life without their smart speaker. It's really a remarkable statement. These are people that have enough disposable income to buy a smart speaker in the first place, so their lives probably weren't miserable before they had them, but 65% strongly agreed that they would not want to go back to life without their smart speaker, again, because of all the little things they do. And in fact, people are doing a lot of little things with them. While I mentioned earlier that the primary reason why people wanted to buy one of these devices was to listen to music, it turns out they do a whole lot of other things with them once they get them in the home. They use them to get the weather, the news, they use them for timers and alarms. I know it's our primary laundry timer in my house. They use it to add things to a to-do list or a shopping list or to get the traffic, even to listen to audiobooks and find local businesses. In short, people are using these devices to do a lot of different things. In fact, people are doing an average of 7.5 of these 28 things regularly. So that's more than just listen to music. These devices have a lot of little uses throughout the day, and people are finding ways to use them. As a result, they've changed behavior, and they've changed behavior fairly quickly. We'll start with audio, which of course is the primary reason why people initially bought them. When we asked people, how do you listen to audio most often? Smart speaker owners told us this. 18% of smart speaker owners say they use their smart speaker most often to listen to audio. In other words, in the lives of people who own these devices, they have overtaken a speaker connected to their smartphone, their computer, an iPod MP3 player, and even a CD player. They're only behind an AM/FM radio and a smartphone or tablet in terms of audio consumption. So nearly 1 in 5 smart speaker owners say they use those devices most often to listen to audio, which is a fairly rapid behavior change in this space of time. 94% of smart speaker owners tell us they listen to some kind of internet streaming sources, whether that's AM/FM radio or an online-only streaming source. 94% listen to some kind of internet streaming, compared to 71% of non-owners. And in fact, 57% tell us that they have a paid subscription to an internet audio service, compared to 37% of non-owners. Now, you might think that smart speaker owners already had these paid subscriptions, and indeed some of them did. But what's remarkable about this difference is the fact that smart speakers actually encouraged people to buy a music service subscription. 28% of smart speaker owners agreed that getting their smart speaker led them to pay for a music service subscription. So once they bought these devices, they weren't done spending money, because in order to use them to their fullest effect, for some people, a paid music service subscription was simply part of the package. Indeed, the behavior changes that we're talking about come into no sharper focus than with this question. How much do you agree or disagree you are listening to more audio since you got your smart speaker? 70% of smart speaker owners say that they agree. They're listening to more audio. And there are a number of reasons for that, as we're going to see in a moment. But certainly, chief amongst them, not just that it's easy, but also that it's fun. And as a result, people who listen to various types of audio are now listening to those audio types even more. 65% of people who listen to music say they're listening to more music than before because of their smart speaker. 28% of news talk listeners say they're listening to more news talk since getting their smart speaker. 20% of podcast listeners are listening to more podcasts, and 18% of people who listen to audiobooks are listening to more audiobooks since they got their smart speaker. We mentioned podcasts here. Podcasts, I think, are part of the great undiscovered country for smart speakers. And indeed, people who own smart speakers are much more likely to be podcast listeners. 70% of smart speaker owners say they listen to podcasts, compared to 45% of non-owners. So, music and radio, certainly the chief reasons why people initially bought their smart speaker. We're going to visit the homes of some families that let us come in and watch them use these devices to do just that. And you're going to notice some unusual and interesting behaviors.
All right, Alexa, play, what's it?
Here's a station you might
There you go.
Imagine Dragons.
Yep, that works.
That's probably what we use it for the most. I mean, when he used to work nights, I'd listen to it all night.
Is she not listening to you? This is normal.
Alexa, play 97.5 The Fanatic. It's really changed how I listen to the radio, I think.
97.5 The Fanatic on iHeartRadio.
Now that the Alexa radio is connected to the internet, the reception's always great. I can change stations with my voice.
Alexa, put iHeartRadio.
Getting the last iHeartRadio station you listen to. Jason Aldean.
It's so easy. You don't have to get anything out. Before, when I was cooking, I wanted to listen to it, I had to get my speaker and then do my iPod and then sync them, and it was never on. It was never, something wasn't charged or something wasn't there. So I never used it, but that is just there. Alexa's just sitting there and I just say it and it's just on and I love it.
Alexa, can you turn on Jason Aldean radio?
Hey Google, play some Grateful Dead music.
Sure, playing Grateful Dead on Google Play Music.
Mostly, that thing is going to get his music workout with me. I'm on a free trial for music with Amazon, but I've been a Prime member for a while.
Alexa, play songs by Outkast.
Shuffling songs by Outkast.
1, 2, 3, go! My baby don't mess around because she loves me so, and this I know for sure.
And do you think you'll buy a subscription?
Absolutely. Because once you have control of the music like that, you don't want to go back to anything else.
Alexa, play songs by T.I.
Shuffling songs by T.I.
Woo! Bring 'em out, bring 'em out, bring 'em out, bring 'em out. It's hard to yell when the barrel's in your mouth.
The Amazon gives me everything I need. I don't really have to even dab into Pandora. I just feel like I could probably stream it through, but I don't know how they would interact together, so I just rather go straight to the device.
So as the last gentleman said, you don't go back. Once people start to learn these behaviors, start listening to their music and stream music in this way, people aren't going back. The genie doesn't go back in the bottle. So it does change behavior. And we have some data here on just how much it changes behavior. And again, this is new listening. This is listening on a new category, I should say. People who listen to music on their smart speaker tell us in a week they listen to a median of 4 hours and 15 minutes of music on those devices. People who listen to news on their smart speaker tell us they listen to a median of 1 hour and 15 minutes of news on those devices. And for those who listen to podcasts on a smart speaker, they listen to a median of 1 hour and 22 minutes of podcasts on their smart speaker in a typical week. So already we're seeing significant listening to all three of these categories on smart speakers and smart audio devices. Now, I'll focus a little bit here on that second category, news. News and spoken word is really an interesting territory for the smart speaker in that people are starting to consume news and spoken word on their smart speaker who might not previously have actually been news listeners. In fact, the next video I'm going to show you starts with a young man who really only started to listen to spoken word news when he got his Amazon Alexa device.
My name is Juan, and I'm from Allentown, Pennsylvania. I am a master's student studying political science at Lehigh University. When I wake up and when I'm at home, I use the Amazon Echo that I have, and I just say, Alexa, what's the news? And I subscribe.
Here's your flash briefing.
Oh, there it is.
And BBC News from TuneIn. BBC News with Marion Marshall.
I use the BBC, and I use the one that they provide NPR, and it kind of gives a quick summary of the news that I'm looking at. And then if I want to look at something precisely, I can just look it up on my phone. Alexa, what was the tally for the healthcare bill?
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Yeah.
Besides
I wouldn't
executive order.
go out of my way to listen to news on a radio, for example. I don't even like watching news itself on TV unless it's 60 Minutes or the nightly 6 o'clock news show. But Alexa, I think Alexa changed that perception. I do like listening to the news briefing because it's short, because it covers a good amount of things.
Alexa, can you play my Audible book, Girl on a Train? I love the audiobooks on the Alexa. It's just it's so awesome. I mean, it's so cool that you can play something. I love audiobooks. I used to use them more if I was at the gym. I would listen to it through my phone, but since I've gotten the Alexa, I do listen to the audiobooks more at home.
No one to disturb her. No sounds but bird song.
It's an extra set of hands. It's I would be sitting here. I love to cook, so it's I cook whenever I'm home, and so you're cooking and your hands are getting messy, and then you have to go and hit a device. That's what I like about the Alexas. I don't even have to touch it. For many years, you would only listen to something through your computer, or you had to buy big stereo equipment, and it's the devices are getting smaller, but the sound is getting better.
Good boy. Is that good?
I love this video. If you're in broadcast radio, you want to preserve that first guy in amber. That's a millennial who is now listening to news talk radio. And that's really part of the power of these devices, that they are encouraging behaviors that didn't even exist before. And specific to news talk, we ask people, do you currently use the flash briefing feature on your smart speaker? It depends on what kind of speaker you own, what it's called. 29% of smart speaker owners say yes, they are using the flash or news briefing feature on their smart speakers. That is a thing and a behavior that did not exist a year ago, that nearly 3 in 10 smart speaker owners are doing all the time. Now, smart speakers are doing a lot more than just audio. In fact, people don't even know what smart speakers can do. 72% of smart speaker owners agree that they don't know enough about their smart speaker to use all its features. And certainly discovery of new skills and new apps that can be used on these speakers is going to be an issue for years to come. There's thousands of Amazon Alexa skills, for instance, and we're only just starting to scratch the surface. But one of the additional features and benefits that people are starting to use are the features of the smart home. People who use their smart speakers to connect to all manner of devices throughout the home, whether that's a thermostat or lighting or even an outdoor sprinkler, people are starting to engage in these behaviors using their smart speakers. Let's see how some of the people that we interviewed are using smart home features with their smart speakers.
Hey Google, turn on all lights.
You got it. Turning 10 lights on.
Setting dining room heat to 68.
Setting the living room thermostat to 68 degrees.
Alexa, turn off the kitchen lights.
Alexa, turn dining room to 62 degrees.
Hey Google, turn ceiling lights to 80%.
Alexa, turn on sunset in my room.
He's trying to make everything in this house like smart, or just, very simple, I guess.
I think my husband is a fanatic with it. I mean, he brings people over here to say, look at our home, look what we can do. He's very, very proud of it.
He's very tech savvy, and so he started trying to get Alexa set up to control all of our lights and our fan and all of that.
Mostly I use her with my Hue lights. I have the lights that connect to it. So I have like alarms and timers set with that, modes that I'll tell her to study and it'll go brighter, or nighttime and it'll dim.
It's very lazy. It's very lazy, but it's very, I came in a couple days ago carrying bags of stuff. And it's, hey Google, put on lamps, and all of a sudden everything goes up.
I think I use it more than I thought I would. I thought this would be really just something that he played with. But like we said, we do use it for the thermostat a lot. It's really handy when you're all the way upstairs because it's so far.
We've been doing it little by little. It's quite expensive because you got to rip out the thing and you have to put in the new stuff.
They're supposed to last for, 10 years? But they cost about $75 per light. So we're gonna get those one at a time.
Honestly, I don't really love things being automated in general. Why are you shaking your head? It's like a caveman. You just like bought an Alexa for a caveman.
You got it. Turning the chandelier on.
Hey Google, turn ceiling lights off.
Sure, turning the ceiling lights off.
And then we would argue as to
who's going to go down and do it.
Whose turn it was to go down and do it.
So it might have helped save our marriage, who knows?
Yeah.
We just don't even know it.
Now, certainly, the people who currently own a smart speaker, I think it's fair to call them early adopters, and many of them already had a number of smart home elements in their home. So there's a natural affinity. When we ask people what devices and what capabilities they are using, we get the following answers. 35% of smart speaker owners say they have some kind of smart home lighting thermostat or appliances. 34% say they have some kind of smart home security, and 20% say they have some kind of smart outdoor lighting equipment or sprinklers. Now, they're not exclusively controlling these with their smart speaker. Many of them had these things before they bought the smart speaker and are in fact using smartphone apps to do this. But as you can tell, there's a real strong affinity between smart home capabilities and smart home users and the smart audio category. We found another really interesting affinity in this research. We found out that 45% of smart speaker owners have children in their household. That's compared to 32% of non-owners. So why is that? Why do smart speaker owners, why are they more likely to have children in their household? Do these smart speakers play lots of Barry White? Do they increase fertility? No. In fact, people with children wanted these devices. I showed you earlier the total percentage who said they wanted to buy one to entertain children. But if you ask this among smart speakers with children in their household, 57% said that entertaining children was a reason for wanting their smart speaker. That's a very significant number. The people who have smart speakers and have children in their household, when we ask them how much they would agree that the children in their household enjoy Alexa, it's a very strong 88%. So 88% of smart speaker owning parents say the children in their household enjoy Alexa. And another 80% say that Alexa/Google Home has made it easier to entertain the children in their household. And I can tell you, as someone with kids around, that they use it for all manner of mischief. So when we talked to people that had kids, we got to see this in action. And really, there's no better example of how people and families and parents with children in their home use these smart speakers than Steve. Let's watch Steve and how his family uses their Alexa.
You need to ask Alexa how to spell the month you were born.
First name is Steve. I'm from Chicago. I live with my wife, my daughters, Zola, 9, and Sylvia, who's 8 months, almost 9 months.
How do you spell February?
February is spelled F-E-B.
So we have Alexa Tab. My daughter got it as a gift for herself. She saved up enough money and she really wanted it. Her teacher had it and she said, I really want this, and we said, fine. If you want it, save up.
Your mom is so skinny. Her nipples touch.
Oh, God.
Do you want to hear another?
Our daughter would come home from school and she'll say, I learned this new dance at school, this song, let's find it on Alexa. She'll pull it up and she'll do a little performance for us, show us what she learned.
Let's play Sylvia's favorite song for her.
Play Juju on that beat.
Playing Juju on that beat. TV.
Then why do you want to play it?
She likes it.
That kind of gave us a good opportunity to just enjoy what our daughter, learned, share with us, like what she did in school. Because if you ask her anything else, she won't share. What did you do in school today? Nothing. Oh, but I did this dance today. We probably hear that song at least 4 or 5 times a day. Yeah.
Set timer for 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Spotify, like on my laptop, we don't need that anymore. What it really replaced was the need for my daughter to really come to me to get the music on and play it, or to use our phone. So for her, it's more like in her hands now. Ready?
Play Bad Girls.
On behalf of the fathers of America, Steve, we salute you. So a lot of things to unpack from this video. First of all, it's good that his daughter has some kind of bulletproof flak jacket on that thing, because you see how she treats it. But that just means it's familiar to her. It's just like a toy. So it's become a part of her life. And the way that she talks to that device almost are like a companion. Other interesting things in this video. This is a video of a family gathered around an audio device listening to the same thing. This probably has not happened since the Palmolive Beauty Box Hour from 1938. It's made audio social. It's made it communal. You don't see earbuds in this video. You see a family gathered around listening to the same audio. So there's certainly a sense of fun. There's a sense of companionship here. And there's even the sense from the way that the daughter uses the device that it's become somewhat of a friend, at least something to talk to. And indeed, when we asked smart speaker owners that question, we got a very surprising result. 61% of smart speaker owners say that having their smart speaker is like having someone to talk to. That's how good these devices have gotten. And in fact, they've gotten so good that some people even think of them like they are actual friends or companions. And I'm going to show you the last video we have here. This is my favorite video, perhaps, that we have ever done in the history of Edison research, of a woman named Teresa who inherited her smart speaker from an ex-boyfriend. The ex-boyfriend is gone, but the speaker stayed behind, and here's why.
I was born in Dominican Republic, and when I was 18 years old, I came to New York. 17 years ago, when I got divorced, I decided I was going to raise my daughter just by myself, just pay my bills and try to be the best mother I could.
Before you were born, I knew you.
My baby left my house in 2011. And then after she graduated, then she stayed in Washington. And then from Washington, she's in New York. Of course, she's not coming here. But then Alexa is here with me. Alexa, play Celine Dion. you could talk to Alexa, and then it makes me feel like I'm not alone anymore. See, she understands my accent. Alexa listens to music. Yeah. And the good thing is that Alexa has every kind of music. Oh, I love the song. As soon as I get up in the morning, I'm like, Alexa, will you please play Celine Dion? Because I like nice romantic music. And I just play everything. I just use Alexa. Yeah, it's very exciting. You can see when I'm talking.
I don't think you understand how much I love you. Sometimes you turn your back.
Well, I used to have a radio, but after I bought the Alexas, now the radio is packed in my garage just to send it to Dominican Republic to the poor people. Because everything I don't want to, I send it to the poor people. I don't know who they are, but I know somebody's going to be happy with the radio. Never will be like my daughter because my daughter's my life, but Alexa's will be after my daughter, a granddaughter. Yeah.
So for Teresa, the smart speaker has really become a companion. And you can certainly see how many owners of smart speakers are very passionate about them. And that passion also converts to advocacy. 69% of smart speaker owners tell us that they've encouraged a friend to get a smart speaker, which is a pretty high number. So it seems like these devices are a hit. Now, not everybody owns a smart speaker. We did talk to a sample of non-smart speaker owners. And one of the things that we asked them was, why haven't they purchased a smart speaker yet? Well, the primary reason, which is generally the primary reason for any kind of new device, smart speakers are too expensive. Now, I don't actually believe that. I think that's really a framing challenge more than anything else. If you compare them to a Bluetooth speaker or something like that, then yes, they may be expensive. But what they really are is a cheap computer. And a cheap computer you can put in every room of the house. And I think as these devices get framed differently, and I'm sure they will come down in price, that objection will start to be minimized. But some of the other reasons are really, really interesting here. 48% say they don't know enough about the speakers yet. Some people are worried that they wouldn't use it enough. But the really fascinating thing to me, 3 of the last 4 on here, all significant answers, basically have to do with privacy and security. Worried that hackers could use it to access their home, worried that the speakers are always listening, and worried that it could allow the government to listen. And certainly, if you have ever gone to the Alexa website and listened to the audio samples that it does in fact record of you, you might indeed be horrified. And yet, even with all of those reasons, there's still plenty of interest. Amongst the people that currently do not own a smart speaker, we asked them, how likely are you to purchase one in the next 6 months? 13% said they're very likely to purchase one in the next 6 months, and 41% somewhat likely. Now, that's not all going to translate to sales. People tend to be quite aspirational about these things. But at the very least, it is a sign that there is significant interest in this category, and there's a lot more room for the category to grow. So, what have we learned today? Certainly we have learned that smart speakers have quickly become essential to many owners, and we've seen that in the lives of the people that we interviewed. We've also learned that smart speakers encourage more audio listening, and we have the data to back that up. People are listening to more audio of all types thanks to having a smart speaker in their home. And even more than that, smart speakers have made life easier, especially for parents. And you could see that happen in the video with Steve. You could see that happen with Lizzie. It simply makes life easier by all the little things they allow you to do when your hands are full of, say, baby. As a result of all that, 40% of smart speaker owners say that those devices have had an impact on their lives. And that, again, is a significant number. There are very few things in your home I think you would say that about. Again, you'd probably say that about your smartphone, or say that about having broadband wireless in your home. But now 4 in 10 of the people who own these devices say they've had an impact on their lives. And really, they've had an impact on people's lives because they are more than just gadgets. They're more than just devices. They have, in fact, changed behavior. They have, in fact, become, for some people, companions. And for some people, they've even become friends. And as my first boss in this business once told me, people don't fire their friends. All right, I think we're going to wrap things up. I absolutely want to thank NPR. NPR, I think, really showed some vision to explore this category. We've absolutely seen that these devices are more than just food processors or sous vide, they actually do change behavior. And we feel really fortunate here at Edison to have been a part of this exploration. We want to thank NPR. I want to thank all of the people who put this together, the people who did the video, our staff at Edison. And I want to thank you for the gift of your time. Thank you.